Hi fans of high quality entertainment. You haven't heard that in a few days. And thank you all for the very kind words for the videos that Molly and I did together, and the one that Molly did all by herself. If you haven't seen them, if I remember, they'll be at the end of this video. Okay. So this is just a rambling vlog about my love of music. And so I think the very first song that I remember liking was a children's song called, I don't remember it, I'm too old. Really, at the moment I can't, but it was when, I used to have these little 45s and children's songs. There was one, if I remember it, I'll get back to you. But, so 64 was when I saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, and that's, I guess, when I started to love rock music. That was 55 years ago. Seriously, I know I have a lot of young viewers. One thing, you're gonna get old someday. You are, just like me. And it just creeps up on you. All of a sudden you wake up and you're 61 years old. It's really depressing. But I still feel youthful. I still feel like I'm in my, 30s. Health-wise, I'm not doing so great. I've got neck pain, shoulder pains, tendonitis in my hands. But let's go on to the music, because I like to ramble and hit the tripod. The other night, Molly saw Michael Bublé in concert. And, that's not my kind of music, but I totally respect the talent, and Molly really enjoyed it. And I know if I was with her, I would really enjoy it too, even though it's not my kind of music. Even just, he has the orchestra and everything, and, he tells a few jokes too, and he sings very well, better than me sometimes. And so, just because I love rock music doesn't mean I can't appreciate, like old country. I love old country. I respect a lot of the old country artists, not so much the new country. It's like a cookie cutter machine nowadays. But I just want to go through a list of some of the bands through the years and my feelings on them. Now, Blue Oyster Cult. I became a huge fan of them in 1974 when I bought Secret Treaties. And up to Fire of Unknown Origin, I was a huge fan. And then after that, I never bought the Revolution at Night. I have it here, but Revolution at Night, Club Ninja. I just didn't think, that they would be as good as the earlier songs. And Buck Harma's solo album, I never had an interest in buying it, even though I love him as a guitarist. But recently I've listened to even the later releases of Blue Oyster Cult when they left Columbia Records, Heaven Forbid and The Curse of the Hidden Mirror, I think it's called. I've listened to those on YouTube. They're not on Spotify. And I am taken aback at how much I enjoy them. And I know they're really hard to get now. I was looking it up, they're like $40, $50. So if anybody can find a good price for either of those albums, or maybe make a trade for my one of my Jethro Tull box sets for those two albums, I would, possibly. And so yeah, I have a total, I've always loved Blue Oyster Cult, but now I have a total real love of them, because, oh my God, even their, like Club Ninja, it's not as good as Secret Treaties or their earlier albums, but it's still good. I was very impressed with them. Some catchy tunes on that. And Buck Harma is, I believe, the most underrated guitarist in the world. U2, from 1984, yeah, when The Unforgettable Fire came out. I became a huge fan. And I was a huge fan. I thought they were just below the Beatles for years and years. So if I knew myself now, if I went into the future and I'm not a fan of them anymore, I would be very shocked. But I'm not. I just, not that I don't like their earlier music, but I just gave up on them, for many reasons. The Beatles. Who would have thunk that 55 years later I'd still be in love with the Beatles music, and I am. David Bowie. I never thought I'd be a huge fan of David Bowie. I really liked him. I loved some of his songs, but now I'm like a huge fan of David Bowie. And so, when you get older, you might check out music from the past that you thought was just okay or you didn't even like, and you might actually like it or even love it. Van Morrison, I never thought, I thought he was like, just the kind of music I would have no interest in. And now that I'm older, I really appreciate a lot of his music. Grand Funk Railroad. Going back, their early albums I absolutely loved. They were after the Beatles, they were the next band that I fell in love with. But an album like Survival, I wanted to love it, but I just liked it. I just thought it was okay. But listening to it with fresh ears, years later, it's my favorite Grand Funk Railroad album. So it just shows you how your brain can change. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worst. And, I love, some of you might not know, but I love the music of Randy Newman. I really want to get his CDs again. I don't know if they're remastered or not, but all of his early CDs, 12 songs, his self-titled debut, Born Again. I really appreciate the work that Randy Newman has done. And, up to really aggressive music, I love Motorhead. And I know somebody noticed that I had Ace of Spades in my pile of CDs. I was, maybe for a giveaway or whatever. But that CD was from, I think, the late 80s, early 90s, and I'm sure there's a remastered version of it. You know how I love a remastered album. So I'm going to buy a remastered version of Ace of Spades. I don't need all of the Motorhead CDs because, not that they're all great. I've heard them on Spotify, but as long as I have one Motorhead CD, I'll be happy. And I love watching documentaries on Netflix and YouTube, and I was watching a documentary on the country star Kenny Rogers. And once again, at my older age, I'm looking back, because in the 80s he was like a mega superstar, and I had a neighbor below me who would be playing his greatest hits album like for hours on end every day, and I was so sick of it. But even in the 60s, he was in this band, the First Edition, and he was playing, I think he was playing the bass. And I just look back and I respect, like people like Kenny Rogers and their talent. Not that it's my genre of music, but I really respect the talent. And I also love some of the songs, like, Oh Ruby, don't take your love to town. Of course, Sparks became a fan in 1974. Their first album came out in 1971, and the two brothers had been making music since 1969. And I never would have thought that, in 2019, they're coming out with a new album, and they have a documentary coming out by I forget his name at the moment. He's a very famous director. I'll put his name here if I remember to put his name here. And it's also, when I was growing up, I was a Sparks fan, and most of my friends, hated them or had no interest. There were a couple that did like them. But now, you know, with the internet and all that, it's nice to, oh my God, there's other Sparks fans in the world. And me talking about Sparks, I've had viewers comment, say, I've become a fan of Sparks thanks to you. So it's really cool. It's just, there are good things about the internet, like meeting Mael. Now, some of these bands, you know, I go on and on about, like, Yes, but I've always loved Yes, but I thought their later albums, you know, weren't very good. I had no interest in them. But Magnification and Key Studio, I feel, are as great as all of their early albums. So, and I also want to get The Ladder, which I have not heard yet. The Doors, I have a new respect for the Doors. I've liked them, but at some point I would love to do some kind of discography ranking. I don't know if they're like all of their songs, or just individual reviews of the albums. And really, there's still a couple of their albums, like Waiting for the Sun, which I really need to listen to more. But the other ones I absolutely love, and so I appreciate them more than ever. Just like Yoko Ono. I never thought, you know, I thought there were a couple of songs of hers I loved. I liked her songs on Double Fantasy with John Lennon, but her solo albums, for the most part, I thought, no interest in them. But Approximately Infinite Universe, her double album, is one of my favorite double albums of all time. I'm sorry. I have to apologize. I want to do a video at some point, hopefully this year, of bands I've never really checked out. For instance, the band Tool, Dream Theater, and maybe other bands. Maybe some viewers can let me know what bands to check out that are, you know, fairly popular, not bands that nobody has heard of, because then viewers aren't going to really be that interested. It's just it just kind of sucks that, you know, I can't play little samples of music when I'm listening to it for the viewers to hear, and then, you know, I do a review of it. But it's really, you just have to be careful when you have a YouTube channel, because you can get copyright strikes and end up losing your channel. So I feel I love rock music as much as anyone, even though I would never be a big collector of, you know, certain bands or whatever. I just like the main albums that they release, and, you know, some bonus cuts are okay and all that. But I saw this on this Prague magazine at the back, King Crimson, Heaven and Earth. It's a box set, 1997, 2008, 24-disc boxed set. The complete overview, studio, live, high-res stereo, surround sound audio, video recordings, many available on disc for the first time. And I love King Crimson. I think that in the court of the Crimson King, boy, that's hard to say first thing in the morning. Crimson King is possibly the greatest prog album of all time, or at least in the top, for sure in the top 5. But even if I was the biggest King Crimson fan in the world, which I'm not, I would not buy that, because it's just overkill. It's too much. I'm just talking about myself. I know there's fans out there that would buy it, but it's just too much for me. Even if it was the Beatles or Sparks, it's like 24 discs and, you know, outtakes and whatever. I don't think I would buy it. And that leads me to Paul McCartney's Egypt Station. I know recently he released a special edition of it, and I don't think I'm ever going to buy it, because I feel Egypt Station, when it was released, that was the album, right? And then for whatever reason they release it with more songs and live tracks and all that. And so it's almost like back in the past, if Abbey Road was released and then they did a deluxe edition of it. Why didn't you release the deluxe edition to begin with? You know, and There was also the Egypt station, was it like a luggage case or whatever, it was like $400. Even if I was a multimillionaire, I might buy it then. But I just like the basic, I focus mainly on the studio albums, and like I said, bonus tracks are always interesting. The Sgt. Pepper outtakes and especially the White Album outtakes, I absolutely love. But otherwise, I'm not really always interested in bonus cuts and everything. But I'd love your opinions on all that. I'm not just rambling on for no comments back. So that's about it. And I also wrote here, I should have said this at the beginning, but in the past, I used to go and see a psychic once in a while. I know some of you don't believe in psychics, and some of you do. I'm kind of, I don't know, halfway. But I did have one psychic years ago that was very impressive, because I didn't say anything, and it's like they knew me. And one of the things this person said was something like, music is as important to you as breathing. And I'd never mentioned music or anything to this person, and it was like, yeah, that's me. That's how much music means to me. So that's it. Thanks for listening to me ramble on. Have a great day, and leave your comments below on everything I just talked about. And that's it. Have a great day. Bye.